Hey, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff here once again with another episode of the Freedom Nation podcast. On today's show, I have Chaz Wolfe. Chaz is a super entrepreneur who's grown multiple businesses early on in life, but he didn't start from the aspect of somebody who, instantly got into business. He started in sales early on, like 16 years old, and built up a good sales career and then started to build businesses. But most importantly, he started to build passive income outside of those businesses that has allowed him at age 34 to be able to do the things he wants to do. So it's a great story, and I hope you enjoy it. We'll see you on the other side.
All in you. Everything you're looking for, it's all in you. You gotta believe that it's all in you. Everything you're searching for, it's all in.
Hey, Freedom Nation, it's Jeff here, and I have another wonderful interview today with Chaz Wolfe. Chaz is a business owner who has worked for several years to go from startup to success to getting himself some passive income to where he can basically do whatever he wants. So basically, he's already at his Freedom Day. Chaz, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Jeff, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for the opportunity to serve you and your audience here today. Hopefully we'll do both.
Appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to the interview here. So let's kick us off. Why don't you tell us your story? How did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, well, to your point, Freedom Day has come, but I think a lot of guys or gals that once you quote unquote get to Freedom Day, you realize your potential is just so much more. And so that's the cool work that you get to do after you're not concerned about the basics any longer. You get the nut covered, and then you start having freedom, not just of that day, to your point, but freedom of thought, freedom of mind, freedom to be able to go and create. And I just really believe that I'm a builder. I'm here to build amazing businesses and teams and assets and my family, my marriage, all that. So really, I guess my story is all of that, me coming to realize how I am that, a builder. And so, yeah, growing up single mom family definitely gave me some important pieces to the toolbox that I needed as a builder. Playing basketball competitively all the way up through early stages in college also gave me tools to be a builder. Starting in sales, dropping out of college and starting in sales, and getting my teeth kicked in multiple times, hundreds of times a day, gave me tools to become a builder. Starting my first business at 24, getting married at 21, having kids at 25, now having 4 kids under the age of 9. Like all of those things really have, I guess they're part of my story, but they've really been able to make me the builder that I am today.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So you built businesses. What was that? You started working for other people, I'm assuming, in the sales world, but then you kind of went out there on your own, started businesses. What was that first kind of impetus? What did you do to begin with, kind of getting yourself out of the working for others world?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, actually, Jeff, because I did both. I worked for other people, and then I left, and I started my own company, and I expanded that company, and then I actually went back to work for other people, which was a little bit insane. So I'll kind of take it down the road. But from 16 to 24, I was in sales, and everything from selling shoes to advertising to insurance, you name it. I'm sure there's probably a few other things in there that I hustled. But really what that gave me was not only just the persistence or fortitude of just, oh, geez, like this thing called success or money or life doesn't happen easily. I already knew that growing up single mom family, but it was like, there's nothing special about you, bud. You're gonna have to put in the work, make it work for you. And so I learned system, I learned language, I learned communication, I learned all of really the things that come from a mindset of perseverance through sales. And so as I was working in sales in different industries, I began to grow my income. And as I grew my income, the itch for doing my own thing is what began to manifest, I guess, really. So at the age of 24, I'm already making 6 figures in a sales management leadership role, and I leave completely. Benefits, 100 plus thousand. I'm 24. My family literally thinks I'm crazy. And I purchased a franchise. I ended up growing that franchise from 24 to 29, from 1 location to 7 locations across 3 states, 65 plus employees. And then because I just felt like I had an awesome system and great team, which I did, I went back to work in sales. And really the main reason here, and this all kind of comes back full circle for a listener here, because for me, Freedom Day was not about necessarily the amount of income. It was the amount of passive income to me that mattered, to where I could wake up every single day, no matter what, and know, like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, that the nut's covered, and then I could go create, go build. And so for me, real estate was a big part of that. So I was already learning sales, even teaching other people how to do sales, growing my own business, growing locations, building teams. Like I was doing the thing, making a lot of money. I became a millionaire when I was 29. And in the process of that, it wasn't so much necessarily making money, like income, although I was, but I was putting it back into the businesses, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And this is, maybe some of your listeners aren't business owners and they don't understand kind of how this works. I'm sure if anybody that worked or works for me now, this might be a little bit of a shock, but it's not like business owners just take home gobs of money every single year, especially in the early years. So for me, a lot of it was investing like literally everything back in. My wife is a dental hygienist. And so I'm like, cool, like the nuts covered over there, still with active income. But it gave me I could just push it, which allowed me to grow fast. But I was growing my net worth. I was not growing my income necessarily in the business building stage. So I went back to work in sales so I could have income, active income, so that I could buy real estate assets, because I was taking all my money from business and putting it back into business growth. And so this is a really big piece here. I don't want your listeners to misstep, is that I'm always going to be a business builder. I love businesses, and I can get a bigger return in business than I can in real estate. However, in the real estate companies, it's passive, or generally speaking. And so
depends on how you structure it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's all types of real estate, and I'm in several different verticals, but that's the main thing. I went back to work. I became, again, another top salesperson, making a great income, and I just dumped all of that into real estate assets. And so a lot of that has built up what I have today. When I look at my portfolio, I have real estate assets, business assets, teams of people, all working in conjunction with each other unto bigger targets, even yet still. But a lot of the basics are covered. Freedom Day has come, as you said.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, when you were building that, what made you go, hey, this is what I'm going to do? I know building businesses and all that, but as you started to build your plan of attack there, what was the guidepost that you used to do that?
As far as like why I was like going after it, you mean?
Yeah. What was that driving force for you?
Yeah. For me, more. Like I want more out of life. I want more out of myself. I want more out of my marriage. I want more out of my money. And so really, I guess the other side of that is a discontentment, a gratefulness, but a discontentment. And so I have a mastermind group now of successful entrepreneurs, and I have a phrase that I've taught them that they also relate to, but it's grateful, not done. And so I can look back at different moments in my life and I can go, I'm so grateful for fill in the blank, the money that I've made, the family that I have, the things that I've accomplished, because there's a difference here between I'm never satisfied I can't look back. I have no contentment. I can't be grateful. Nothing's ever good enough. Right. And I still have some of those things, but when I stop for a second and I look back at those things, I have to be able to be grateful and go, that's powerful. I've done a lot of work, and I have to be able to be grateful for the view that I've created. But in that same moment, what you're asking about, what drives me is, but bro, the top is that way. Let's go.
Yeah. Love it. That's fantastic. So you've built these businesses up, but you also have got kind of your world of helping other entrepreneurs. So tell me a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah, Gathering the King started just about 2 years ago. And it was because I genuinely believe you're going to get to one of your questions, hopefully, is a book that I recommend, and it's Think and Grow Rich. And we can talk about that in more in depth. But one of the chapters in Think and Grow Rich is on the mastermind principle. And the very purpose of that principle is to get people that are like-minded together, that are working in harmony unto a specific and definite purpose. And so today, right now, you and I, Jeff, are masterminding because we are working towards the definite purpose together of solving problems for your audience and helping them get to their Freedom Day. Well, that's great. Yeah. But I wanted to do that in a format that was bigger and heavier, like a more leveraged lift, right? I wanted to run and do life with other successful people, selfishly for me, but also I knew that I could add value, to them. And when I look around the marketplace, there's a lot of coaching programs that call themselves masterminds, which is fine. I've been a part of several, spent tons of money, and gotten tons of value. But that's not what a mastermind is. A mastermind is not where a guru sells his particular specialized knowledge, or her. It's a collective. It's when I can bring people to the table, and then there's maybe a facilitator, or there's an opportunity for kings. Again, we call it taking off the crown, and we come to the table kind of in humility. You're successful, he's successful, she's successful, but maybe he's got a problem or she's got a situation, and we're all going to kind of discuss it. Our singular purpose inside of Gathering the Kings is to live the exceptional life. The exceptional life is simply just winning in all areas. We got business and finance, we got marriage and family, we got faith, we got health, we got lifestyle. If you're winning in all of those areas, you're living the exceptional life. And that's what everybody that I've kind of started to gather around the table believes, is that if I can just become the best version of myself, it's going to impact all these areas around me, and I'm going to be winning, right? So if I can just gather more people like that together, then we have a more impactful circle.
That is awesome. Well, and I think that the challenge that I've found, and it's been kind of moving up the scale, I guess, the more you spend, a lot of times, the higher the caliber of the people are. But so many masterminds that I found, and I have done the same thing. I've been involved with a lot of masterminds. I always hate being the one who's the most motivated of the group. When you come to the group and everybody's, oh, well, I didn't have time to do this. Well, I didn't either, but I got it done.
Yeah.
and I'm moving forward fast. So I think there's a value in spending a little bit more money on things. And sometimes where it feels like it's a little bit beyond my reach, that's probably the thing you need most to get you to that next level.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people, even like a lot of times health coaches or fitness coaches, it's an easy comparison, because sometimes when you're talking about a mastermind or a business executive coach, spending money in that, there's a huge ROI. We can get into that, but sometimes it's hard to see from the beginning. When you hire a fitness coach, you're like, oh, okay, they're going to help me lose weight, or they're going to help me, fill in the blank fitness wise. Okay, cool. I can easily get that. But to your point that you just made, when I spend little bit of money, like more than I'm maybe a little bit comfortable with, and it's like right here, like you talked about, I'm going to show up to those training sessions.
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely follow that plan. I'm going to definitely make sure that I get my money's worth, which AKA all that really means is that there's a hack. Literally right now, if you're listening, there is a hack to your success. It's called put yourself around other people who are going to hold you accountable and pay for it. And guess what? You'll win.
Yeah. Plus,
you're not the
old adage, the old adage, you're the product of the 5 people you're most closest to. So if you hang out with losers, you're going to end up as a loser. And if you hang out with winners, you're probably going to be a winner, because they're going to force you to.
Yeah. And if you pay to do it, then there's a mutual respect in the room. And also too, don't be the goober that pays for stuff and that doesn't use it. Like, you're going to hold yourself accountable. And then on top of that, if you're putting yourself in the right room, they're going to hold you accountable as well, which it's not like I need dad checking on me, right? What I need is I need a peer going, hey dude, you all right? You good? Hey, did you hit that thing you told me you were going to hit? You didn't? Why? Okay. What can I do to help? Okay, cool. Hey, next month, did you hit it? You did? Freaking good job, dude. Let's go. What's the next target?
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about the structure of your masterminds. How does it work? What do you do with them and all that?
Yeah, good question. We've kind of got it broken down into a couple of pillars. We do a monthly roundtable. So we've got members all across the country. And we get together on Zoom in a monthly roundtable. And that's a 2.5-hour business event. I tell people it's their one opportunity every single month to work on the business as opposed to in the business. Now, we've got some pretty big business owners. We've got owners doing over 300 million. Some of those guys don't need additional time to work on the business, but I'll tell you what, those guys love to work on the business. So they're there. That's for sure. It's usually typically the smaller guys that are like, wait a second, I got to work on the business too. Like, yeah, like actually that's where you start winning. That's where freedom is. So we encourage people by creating the facilitation, but inside of that, we're doing hot seats. We're doing accountability, super great event. Most people walk away from that every month going, my mind is blown with new ideas, new connections, new possibilities, situations and problems solved. It's an incredible thing that we do every single month. We do some tactical stuff as well on a weekly basis, talking about sales, talking about marketing, talking about budgeting. We just finished October. October is budgeting season. You should already have your budget outlined for 2024. If you don't, you're behind. And some people are listening going, I'm sorry, what is a budget? It's like, okay, well, that's okay. Everybody starts somewhere.
And I'm supposed to do this in October? Come on.
Yeah. What is it? First off, let me just give you some encouragement on that. I was doing millions of dollars in sales as a 20-year-old, and I had no idea what a budget was.
Yeah.
So it's okay, but you do need to figure it out. You do need to make sure.
Well, the sooner you get that under control, the faster you can end up growing your business, because you realize how much is leaking out of it in most instances. I mean, you can get, I always say you can get $4.95 to death with all the little tools and toys
That's right.
and tweaks that you've got out there that you never use.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. Yeah. So we do quarterly speakers. I bring in really
Okay.
big business owners or experts in their field. I brought in guys around neuroscience and burnout and
Hmm.
chronotypes. I brought in guys that have done hundreds of millions of dollars, and they come in and implement a certain method that they've taught us in depth, how to sell companies, marketing strategies. I mean, just really high level stuff. And then, of course, we do in-person events, and those are, let me just say it like this. When you mastermind with people, first off, you're getting to know them, you're building relationships, you're getting to know them as an individual and then also as a business owner. And especially when you do that virtually, like us talking right here, right now, at the time when we're done here, we're going to know each other a little bit better. But if we did it again next week and again the week after and again the week after, and then a
Yeah.
couple months from now, we got together in person, we know each other, but we've never seen each other. And it is
Hmm.
so powerful.
Yeah.
It's just a really kind of almost odd dynamic of I know this person, but I've never put my bear claws around them. And it's just an incredible moment. We do like experience plus mastermind events where we're doing, of course, the business, network, talk, strategy, solving problems. But then we just like to play hard also. And so we've done UTVs in the sand dunes. We've done deep sea fishing. We've done the Kansas City Chiefs and Jaguars 40-yard line with a VIP tailgate party. We just really try to work and play hard because that's what successful people want to do, man. They want to be more successful, but they also want to win in their marriage. They want to win in fun. They want to live in their lifestyle, and they want to win in their health. We're just freaking winners.
That's awesome. That is so cool. What's new in your world coming up that you want to share?
Yeah, man. What's new? This next year, we're going to be doing our second family mastermind, which is kind of fun. We did our first one this last year. I went to Bermuda, and it was a little bit of a test to kind of see really how it would go, what we would do, and what kind of value we would bring. But we're going to go to Cancun next year. We've already got probably 30 or 40 families kind of pre-registered for that. So if you're listening to this, it's going to be in June of 2024. And if you're a entrepreneur and you want to get around other entrepreneurs at the same time doing a family vacation, at the same time, I bring in marriage experts and the kids play with each other at the kids center. And we're doing intentional marriage work for 90 minutes each day. The rest of the time we're on the beach, hanging out, doing the networking, fun vacation thing with, of course, your family, but also with other awesome entrepreneur families. And we've just gotten so much response from that. And so we're excited to take our little test from last year and really do it big in 2024.
Now that we're past the pandemic and we can actually go with big groups of people places, it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely, man. It's a blast.
That is awesome. I love that idea. I mean, so you're doing like family stuff and all that. I mean, you're also kind of doing how to work with business and have a family at the same time type training as well? And
oh yeah. Yeah. We call it work-life obsession. Balance doesn't exist. And I think most entrepreneurs actually understand that. I think that there are people out there that try to say that work-life balance exists. And maybe that does for people who have 9-to-5 jobs. But as an entrepreneur, it's integration. Your business, actually, I'll say it like this. I had a guy on my podcast and I ask about this stuff all the time, like you do. And so he said, if your business is like a mistress, then your wife doesn't know about her. She knows you're sneaking around, but she doesn't know what you're up to. You're doing things in the dark over here, but then when you come home, you're a different person. You make decisions separately. Everything's over here and kind of in the shade, right? But if your business is just another person in the family, it sits at the dinner table with you. Everybody knows its name. Everybody's involved. Like when the business has a win, everybody cheers, just like for your kids. Everybody's involved, integrated. That's how it's supposed to be.
How this
as a
works.
Business owner. Yeah, like it's not supposed to be hidden or something that I do over here, and then when I come home, I'm a different person. No, like if anything, it's the actual opposite because I want my kids to learn what's made me successful. Who better to teach them than me? Why would I want them to do anything other than with their life to be successful? I mean, now we're not talking about just money-wise. We're talking about winning in all areas. How do they win in all areas? Well, if I'm winning in all areas, guess what? I want to teach them.
They're going to learn. Well, I work with a lot of business owners on the exit planning strategy side. And I think that's the biggest thing that I will say the most successful business owners I know, it's integrated into their life. Their kids are involved in the business. Their spouse is involved in the business. It's the ones that they're literally, it's like having a mistress. That's the ones where there's a ton of resentfulness. I remember working with a business owner that is the president of a company, and his his grandfather had started it. Dad took it over and then basically dumped it in his son's lap after his business partner died. And he was like, I'm done with this. I'm going and enjoying life. And I remember the son, we were talking with him and he's, dude, he goes, I hate this business. And I was like, well, why? I mean, is this the business you're in? He's no, because this business kept me away from my dad because he was here working his whole life. When I grew up, he was always at work and I was never with him. And I hated this business because of it. And then to add insult to injury, he dumps it in his lap and says, okay, you go run it at this point. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And actually,
I think
probably what the dad thought he was doing was giving him a blessing. Here,
yeah,
I'm giving you this thing that I've devoted my whole life to. It means a whole bunch to me. Here you go. And obviously that wasn't what it was reserved to be. It's funny. I have this word picture in my mind. I'll share it with your audience because I think it's really helpful for entrepreneurs, especially ones that have kids. I'm in the Midwest. We have cornfields. We have bean fields.
Yeah.
And so I imagine myself on a combine, right? And we're blazing a trail. And the idea, I think, would be rather than the two only options that I have or that I see now that entrepreneurs do, they either give their children everything, silver spoon, try to give them a life that they never had. And what that ends up doing is that it cripples them, right? We know this to be true, but yet still people do it. Okay, well, the opposite is don't give them anything. They have to learn everything themselves. They have to suffer. And how I see that second option being, if I don't give them anything, is that they have to then, like I've blazed my trail, and they have to start in their own combine right next to me and blaze the same ground. And so, well, wait a second. That's not leverage. That's not good system. Would I ever want to repeat the same thing over and over if it didn't produce? Like, I wouldn't do that in my own businesses now with my employees. I would have them do the same thing over if it's already done. So why would I do that with my children? So really the tactic here is how do I get them to take over, but without giving them the silver spoon? It's okay. Well, using that combine analogy, it's like, well, for a while there, it's going to be me and I'm blazing the trail. Fine. But then they get in there with me. And they're just kind of poking around and they're looking around and then they're learning and they're kids. Then they get a little older and I start giving them responsibilities and they start doing little things. And then we're running the combine together. And then they're running the combine and I'm just there being dad, hanging around. Right. And then eventually, guess what? I get out of the combine. Like, and we never had to stop blazing
you leave
the trail.
them go. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and I mean, the interesting thing is I think people with their kids, especially, they don't give them the credit that they can figure this stuff out. So they're not old enough to really understand this. They're actually very smart and they will find this out. I work with a local incubator program that's in high school, and these kids are going from absolutely no business knowledge to more business knowledge than I had after 10 years of running a business in less than a year. And they've got mentors coming in, teaching and everything else, but the life lessons that they learn and how they grow so fast because they're like a ginormous sponge. The ones that are open are they're just a ginormous sponge and they figure stuff out really fast. And I think if you got your kids involved, and I say the same, a big part of my life going forward is really teaching families how to talk finance, because I didn't grow up in a family that talked finance. My parents didn't grow up in families that talk finance. And I mean, that hampered me early on in life. And it wasn't until I got into the finance business that I actually learned all these things. And I want people to have these conversations with kids, help them to make decisions that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful, man. And I think that piece, not only just the understanding or the literacy of it, but just the ability then to communicate it down, obviously never too early to start, and kids will be better off for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. So I'm really excited to hear as that starts to go. Let's transition to the fast 5 questions now.
Okay.
Ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So first question. You wake up in the morning, business is totally gone. You have $500 in your pocket, a laptop, computer, place to live, food and clothing. What do you do first?
I reach into my network and find out who I can serve.
I love it. Simple and straightforward. Make some phone calls.
Make some phone calls. You said I didn't lose any of my skill set or my knowledge or the things that I've learned. I mean, obviously in that scenario, I wouldn't. And so I have built up skill sets around sales, around hiring, around personality assessments, around building teams, around scaling businesses, around revenue generation, around relationships. I mean, you name it. I can just go down the list on skill sets and go, okay,
Mhm.
who in my network needs this? I mean, it's
Yeah,
kind of what we do, right? Like we just provide value
absolutely.
to people in our network. That's kind of what business is.
I love it. What's the biggest business mistake you've ever made?
Ooh, good question. I'm going to answer this in two parts. One is financial, because that's probably what you're meaning underneath that. Lost about $600,000 on a deal that I did, and my wife told me not to do it. I did it anyway. It was a business that I started really more so out of defense as opposed to offense, and ended up shutting it down years later. And it never, not once, made me money. In fact, it cost me a whole bunch. Really, the greater mistake, though, is thinking small for too long.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted more, and I always wanted to achieve and grow and succeed.
Okay.
However, my very tactical mindset was always in the weeds, never thinking big enough. And so for me, when I started thinking bigger, hiring better people, I was always a systems guy, but like thinking systems on systems, like the whole thing is a machine, and how do I get each piece of the machine to work together as opposed to little systems along the way. And just straight mindset, like the information that to be able to think differently, the capability to think differently. I just wish I would have done it sooner. I've probably lost more money that way than I did in the $600,000 I lost in that business.
Okay. Well, you made $1 million by the time you were 29. So I think you're okay. You've done well. So it takes a lot. People have made a lot more mistakes for a lot longer and taken to do that. So yeah, don't beat yourself up too much.
It's all relative,
right? What's a good book that you'd recommend for our audience?
Yeah, Every Day, All Day, Think and Grow Rich. There's tons of great books, but Think and Grow Rich is the only book I've ever read every single year for the past decade. And there's multiple years where I read it. I probably read it 4 or 5 times this year. And it's tough because it's like the most read book. Everybody knows it. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, good. I read that. It's just so much deeper than that. If you didn't have any other books in life, I mean, outside of maybe the Bible, like we're talking about business books, if that's the only book you ever had, you could reread it, like literally read it and then start over, and then read it and start over, read it and start over. And every time you read it, there would be a deeper level of growth for you individually, in your business, in your marriage. It is just an incredible resource. And every time I touch it, I make more money. I get better relationships. I apply myself at a whole nother level. So I would highly recommend that they not only just grab it, but start swimming in
well,
it.
Your process of reading it multiple times, it's the same thing I've done with the 40-hour work week. I mean, the book hasn't been updated since 2009, but I still reread it every single year because I just, every time I read it, I find something new, or it's something new at a different time in my life where it's more applicable. And I found the same thing with Think and Grow Rich. You go back and you read it and you're like, oh, okay, well, I see how that fits in my world now that it didn't a year or two ago, but now it fits in my world.
That's right. I mean,
Plus, it's an easy read. You can read it in a
19.
weekend.
Oh, well, your book, yes. I mean, Think and Grow Rich, I don't know about reading it in a weekend, but when I read it first when I was 19, I was like, this is the dumbest book ever. Who even understands this language? I read it just because I'm a finisher. Like literally, I don't even think I understood it. And I put it away and I didn't even read it again for another couple of years. But once you can just get past that, just really just give yourself some space to like really understand concepts. Game changer. Yeah.
It was the same thing with Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I did this as part of the podcast one year where I took one concept from that book every week for 2 weeks at a time, because there's 26 concepts in the book. I did that for an entire year. I just lived those concepts. And it was amazing. That was one of the best years of my life, just from just a personal growth standpoint. Same kind of thing. I think you can do a lot of the same things with Think and Grow Rich as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. What's a tool that you use in your business every day that you might recommend?
It might be overplayed now. We use a ton of them, but OpenAI is probably the most fun that we use. ChatGPT, as it's known, but we use that for show notes for our podcast. We use it for social media content. We use it for my wife's writing a book right now currently, and she just needed some language for the front and back cover, the back cover. She had written some stuff that was good, and I'm like, hey, let's just enhance it a little bit. Let's get some other thoughts here. And I guess the thing about the tool is that if you know how to use it, you don't just ask it to write a book for you. That's dumb. Don't do that. Know how to use the tool to enhance your current skill set. whether that's coding or whether that's writing a social media post. Don't blindly use it, because then you, like, people just know. So don't do that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but I mean, it's enhanced. I have a course that I taught on that. It teaches you how to utilize the information. It's the ability to gather information quickly into a good cogent thought at that point, and then you edit it. But it's getting that thought to paper a lot of times, that if you can do that, that gets you over the hump, and it makes it much easier to finish that book that you're trying to do. Okay, last question, Chaz. What is your definition of freedom?
Yeah, freedom is winning. Although they're not the same, they are the same. And what I mean by that is you can be free. You can be winning without being free. But I don't think that you can be free without truly winning. And I guess for me, on a practical state, that looks like the nuts covered. We already talked about that at the beginning. Financially, I need to be able to move and operate and make decisions and create. For my family, that looks like security. For the people that are in my covering, employees, friends, connections, anybody that's in my network that's depending upon me, that looks like enough. It looks like flow. It looks like abundance. It's not just for me, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I like it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, if somebody's interested in learning more about you, learning about the programs you offer, what's the best place to look?
Yeah, gatheringthekings.com is a great place. You can take a look at information about me individually or the mastermind, but we really, truly we're a movement. We're a movement of down-to-earth, humble entrepreneurs that want more out of life. We're grateful but not done, as we say. And we just find value in doing life and winning at the highest level in all areas with other people. So that's you. Check us out.
I love it. Fantastic. I love it. Well, we'll put that link in the show notes section. So if you're interested, check it out. Go on to gatheringthekings.com and learn more about what Chaz is doing and the movement there. So we do these shows for you
Jeff,
guys every week. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jeff, let me one more thing here. I apologize. I should have said it before Gathering the Kings, but for the listeners, if they can find me on Gathering the Kings, that's great. But what I would love for them to do before that is to rate this show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. They need to subscribe and give a 5-star review. I just want to encourage the audience that this is real work that Jeff does for you guys, bringing great content every single week or however often. And so just want to encourage you guys to hit the like button, subscribe. Of course, a 5-star review on any podcast channel is just an incredible way for Jeff to know that he's doing the right stuff. I mean, I like to think I'm a pretty good content guy. I like to think I gave you guys some pretty good stuff here today, and Jeff made that happen. So give him a review if you thought so as well.
Boom, drop the mic. Hey, we do these shows twice a week for you guys. So make sure wherever you're listening to us, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on the podcast channels, make sure you subscribe to these suckers and give us a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know that you're out there and what questions or comments you have. Thanks a lot. And thanks, Chaz, for being on today. And we will see you guys here the next time.